This is Visitor's Book and I'm Maya, your host. In this program, we're going to be meeting with diplomats and foreigners who live here in Pakistan, and we're going to find out what they really think about the country. So let's go. So today we're meeting with the CEO of Project 18, Tarek Hamdy, and we've reached his house, so let's go see him. Hello.
Maya, hello.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Thank you.
Please have a seat.
So, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, and how long has it been for you now here in Pakistan?
I mean, as of today, it would be 2 years exactly.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
So it's been 2 years already.
Great. And all of it here in Islamabad?
All of it in Islamabad.
Okay.
Yes.
So, how did you end up here?
Well, all my life I've been working on real estate development, and I've always been interested in new projects and new challenges.
Okay.
So I guess we will talk about different locations where I was, but I was in London, and I was offered to become the CEO of a big development in Pakistan, a mixed-use residential destination.
Yeah.
And I did accept immediately, and I even mobilized and moved and relocated within 15 to 20 days.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
That's quite spontaneous, actually.
Yes, that was quite fast.
So weren't you at all worried about coming to Pakistan, like with all the negative news out there about the country?
Well, I'm originally Egyptian, so I know how the news and the media sometimes project some of the problems in our countries.
Yeah.
I've always been relocated in different countries like Philippines, Libya, Tunisia, Saudi Arabia, so I'm quite familiar with the area. And I knew that I have some friends as well in London from Pakistan, so I knew that the destination would be very interesting. So I did accept, and here I am.
Yeah. And how has your experience been for these 2 years here?
Well, I'm delighted to be in Islamabad. It's first of all, it's a beautiful city.
Yeah.
It's very green, very quiet, very nice. The atmosphere working here is very relaxed, so I commute between here and my office in 5 minutes.
Oh,
so
perfect.
that's not the same in London, where you need at least 1.5 hours to be there.
Absolutely.
The other thing is that people are wearing warm. We have similarity in cultures between Egyptians and Pakistanis, so I understand the culture, all the religious kind of traditions and all the holidays and all of that. So my experience has been really nice so far.
Yeah, that's great. So can you tell me a little bit about this project you're working on here?
Okay, this is a very interesting project because it's, like I said, it's a mixed-use residential and commercial destination.
Okay.
It's on a main artery, which is the highway, the Kashmir Highway. So it is located basically on the expansion of Islamabad as a city, but it's also about 5 minutes away from the new Islamabad International Airport.
All right.
And only 15 to 20 minutes from downtown Islamabad. The main advantage of this project as well, that it connects you with Lahore and Peshawar, which are main cities, and we are 2-3 minutes away from the highways leading to these. So we can say that we have a very strategic location. Yeah. Not only that, but we have a beautiful topography on the land. So the land is about 600 acres and about 2.7 million square yards. The land topography is very challenging and very nice. So not only you have landscapes, but you do have a topography that allows you to build a wonderful golf course that would be a championship golf course.
So what would you say is special about Pakistan in terms of like real estate development or the market in general?
Well, the market, we know that the government has announced maybe a couple of years back that there is a 12 million units in backlog that they need to actually build about 12 million units.
Right.
Lately, the Prime Minister has announced that they have a new project for building about 5 million units.
All right.
There is a big need for housing. Yes, maybe not as luxurious as the one we do, but definitely 60% of our product actually caters for smaller units, and they are very affordable for middle class. So it still will contribute something to this project. The market here in Pakistan is actually selling mostly plots where the owners would have to build. We have strict design guidelines, and we are designing an international standards kind of community, which I don't think has been designed yet so far.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So one of the things I'm always wondering is, because I think most Pakistanis, they want to live in like these big houses with their big extended families. But now you see more and more of these housing societies popping up where it's mainly like apartment blocks, actually. Is that becoming more of a thing in the country now?
Well, obviously the trend internationally is people having smaller units in general. Pakistani have very specific needs and they have families and they want the houses to be adequate to the families and the way their requirements actually. For a Pakistani family, they would love to have every bedroom with an ensuite bathroom.
Yeah.
And this is something, you know, in Dubai is not the same and in the UK is not the same.
Yeah. What do you think appeals to people about these housing societies? Like, this is something we don't really see, I think, in the West at all. There's no concept of housing societies. What is it about these places?
I mean, the main issue for the housing societies is that number one is the security, because usually those housing societies have good security and they have boundaries. They have gates for entrance, they have security checkpoints and all of that.
So it's like a comfortable place to live.
Yes, it would be a comfortable, and if you can do it like a bit more integrated, so you have all the services, so they don't have to commute away to, you know, to take their kids to school or to go in from any convenience store or supermarket or even clinics and hospitals. So,
okay, that's
so it's like, let's say everything is like very confined and all together. You asked me about who does it cater for? We do cater. I mean, we have things starting at 10 million to 500 million. So 50% of our product is actually between the 10 and the 35 and the 40 million, which is nowadays in Islamabad, paid over 4 years. I'm not saying it is fully affordable for everyone, but it is definitely affordable for all the middle class and the working class.
All right. So are there any housing societies in Egypt?
Yes, Egypt actually has a lot of housing society. It's the same mentality, same kind of needs. Egyptians are also after those gated, secured, full infrastructure kind of communities where they have different, as well as Gulf communities, they do the same. So you have a lot of projects in Egypt that are very similar. Egypt has started this about 25 to 20 years ago, let's say. So it's a bit more advanced in terms of the number of societies, but they're all based and founded on the same principle and concepts. Yes.
Okay, so is it, I mean, sometimes I feel like when you have cities like Lahore and Karachi and probably also Cairo and other cities in Egypt that are very busy and it's difficult to move around, then that's when you want to live in this kind of like a gated community where there's no craziness going on.
Spot on. And there is another thing is that Pakistani families and Egyptian families, Middle Eastern families in general, are very protective of their kids and their girls, and you know, that's it. So they would love to, if my son is going to be using his bicycle around, it'd rather to be within a gated community, because they don't have, it's not the same as London where you can take your bicycle and just roam around, you know, in different places. So they will be more secure and more happy to see their kids playing outside and you know, on the lawns or outside in the main gardens and public. So there's an element of security and protection as well that they would like. Not that something would happen, but because we worry maybe a bit more in those areas. We are more family. Family is very important. Even you could see some kids and their sons and daughters, they live with their families all the way until they get married. Some of them are even 30 years old, but they still live with their families. This is the culture, so that's why the needs are very similar and the culture is very similar.
Was there anything that surprised you about Pakistan? Like any differences in terms of like living situation and anything like that culturally?
Well, what was funny at the beginning is that they were asking us to design homes which are affordable and more catered to the middle class. But the essential need is ensuite bathroom for all the bedrooms. So that's a bit funny because they still need this. Even though the house is smaller, they'll still design it this way. And that's a bit of a contradiction between saying, oh, but we're not as rich as the West or the other countries, but we still need 5 bedrooms with 5 ensuite bathrooms. That's a bit of a funny thing. So that's not surprising. Let's say that's a need that is essential, that they have to have. No, there are no bad surprises in here, apart that the country is still setting up to understand more the real estate development and to go forward, that's all.
Yeah, well, how do you think things will change in the future?
Well, things will change by bringing different societies, because if they were doing one model before, which is selling plots, you know, so you get a big piece of land, you master plan it, you divide it into smaller parcels or plots, and then you sell it and people come and build it.
Yeah.
The disadvantage here is that sometimes people build whatever they want. So you have a pink house next to a brown house, a Victorian next to a Mediterranean, a Tunisian next to a Gothic. The idea of the guidelines is very important. So now that we are doing this, so we have a clear guidelines for the whole development, but we do have a consistent and homogeneous architecture vernacular for all the development, very consistent, not boring. That is going to change a bit the way people think about real estate in Pakistan. They're going to start, instead of building like mass homes and mass apartment blocks that are not very nice, they're going to think more of designing the landscape and designing more of the Gulf amenities and around it, and plus the other things. So I think that this is the main thing. So with the more of the development, the more of the investors coming in, they're going to be open to more solutions, to more, let's say, facilitation. So things are going to develop. This is what happened in Egypt, and this is what's going to happen now.
Yeah. That's very interesting. And just to go back to that thing you mentioned about the ensuite bathrooms, it's actually a funny thing because when I first came here to Pakistan, and I noticed that, and I've actually started to enjoy it now.
Yes.
And when I go back home, I'm like, well, this is so stupid. Like, somebody's using the bathroom, and I want to take a shower, and it's like if I had my own bathroom in my room. So it's very comfortable. Do you like it as well?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we had this in Egypt before.
Yeah.
So very luxurious apartments in the past, and I was born actually in Belgium, but I lived a big part of my time in Egypt as well.
Yeah.
So I remember my uncle, he had a very luxurious apartment. Right? He had 3 bedrooms, but 1 bathroom only. So I remember my cousins, they were fighting over the bathroom in the morning, and the notion of an ensuite bathroom was never there.
Yeah.
If you look at the houses, even in France or in the UK, and you look at how they were designed, actually the French were, you know, it's like the worst, because they used to have sometimes the toilet outside of the apartment, even that.
Horrible.
And outside of their chateaus and their castles, so that was kind of funny thing. But you always, the mentality of an ensuite bathroom was not there. It started in the West, and then it started spreading towards here. But I think that in Pakistan, the interesting thing is that it was always there for a religious reason and traditional reason. It was always not maybe 5 on 5, but it was, there were more ensuite bathrooms or more private bathroom for the ladies and the boys, you know, differently and separately. So yes, of course I enjoy it because, you know, within the room context, you can move freely, and it's nice. Yeah. It's a nice feature, actually.
Yeah. All right, time to take a short break. See you in a bit. Welcome back, and it's time to have some tea.
Sure.
So, tell me a little bit about your background. It's quite complicated. You mentioned you were born in Belgium, but originally you are from Egypt?
Yes. Okay. So my father is actually half Egyptian with Turkish origins.
Okay.
My mother is half Egyptian with Italian origins.
Right.
They met, they got married. My dad was working in Europe, so he was the vice president for Westinghouse Electric, based in Europe, so in Belgium, specifically in Brussels. So I was born in Brussels, and I lived there for the first 10 years of my life.
Okay.
So my first actually language was French, and obviously some of the Italian because of my friends and some of the members of my family, and the mother as well. And then we relocated to Cairo when I was 10 or maybe 11 years old.
Wow.
This is where I did all my school and part of my university. So what I've done is I've done electrical engineering at Cairo University for 4 years. And my last year I finished in Polytechnique de Louvain in next to Brussels. It's 20 minutes from Brussels. And after that I started to work actually with General Electric and with Schroeder, which is a Belgian company for electrical lighting kind of solutions and projects.
Oh, wow.
A few years later, I started to do a postgraduate certificate with Sheffield Hallam University that I completed in 1998. And then I've got my executive MBA from the Sorbonne Université Panthéon 1 from Paris in France.
Great.
I graduated in 1990, so you can say that within 10 years I've had my MBAs and I've had my work experience, and in starting from 2000 was actually the very serious projects kind of real estate thing.
Yeah.
Before that it was also engineering and project development, all of this, but more on the electrical side.
Okay.
But from 2000 till today I've been doing real estate only.
Great. So with all these countries and different backgrounds you have, like, where do you identify the most? Would you say you're more Egyptian or more Belgian?
No, I'm more Egyptian, definitely.
Yeah.
Because, you know, when I started to have friends, I was 11 years old. When I left them to go to Belgium to finish, I was 20, but I had my roots. And then I worked in Egypt for a considerable amount of time. My first real estate project was in 1999 basically, and it was in Egypt on the Red Sea. So this is where I learned everything. It was a huge project where I started on the commercial side. I ended up to lead one of the projects over there. So let's say that up to 2005, from where I was 11 years old, I was in Egypt. So my friends are Egyptians, the language obviously, and all the family, the rest of the family is there.
Yeah, great. And you spent quite a lot of time in the UK as well.
Yes.
Could you tell me a little bit about that?
Yes, my base then became the UK since 2005. I joined, number one, the Princess Charities Foundation, His Royal Highness Prince Charles. I'm on the funding board till today. Excellent. So I've worked there on a project, a fundraising project for the built environment and how to bring, you know, the green development kind of thing over there.
Wow.
So in addition to that, I have been based in the UK to overlook a few projects in different countries. So my base was the UK, London specifically, and I was spending time in, for example, the Philippines. I've been working actively for a whole 18 months onto the Diosdado Macapagal International Airport, which is Philippine Manila. That's a new international airport, and a mixed-use residential around it. I've worked about 3 months in Libya, just on the Green Mountain development, where they have the big Zeus temple. It was very interesting.
Yeah.
I also worked about 9 months in Tunisia, Yasmin Hammamat, for the Marina Hammamat, which is very famous.
Yeah.
This is a marina with berth boats, and it's a leisure marina with about 1,500 units all around. So that was also a very interesting project.
Great.
And one of the very interesting projects, I went to Puerto Rico. I worked for about 5 months on a development that did not happen, but that was the Genmar Studios, which was Jennifer Lopez and Mark Anthony when they were still married.
Oh, wow.
They wanted to do on the Roosevelt, it's an American base, they wanted to do shooting studios. So we've worked on the brand, we've done this, we've worked with Paramount and Universal companies and all of that. It was a lot of fun, but the project unfortunately didn't go through. I mean, we didn't get the funding for that, so we worked on the master planning. So it was an interesting, let's say, 20 years.
But yeah, so you've worked obviously on a lot of infrastructure projects. What would you say are the particular challenges Pakistan is facing in this area right now?
I think that the infrastructure in Pakistan and Islamabad specifically, there are few power cuts. And there is also shortage of gas sometimes for the heating. I think that these needs to be worked on so that the societies, like the private societies or the housing societies, have absolutely to build backup power and have to have like solutions for the heating and for the gas and all of this, just to make sure that the residents are not suffering from those power cuts.
And what do you think about the airports in Pakistan? You must have seen at least the Islamabad airport.
Islamabad airport, the new airport, is really nice. It's big.
It's very good now.
But actually, in all honesty and truth, you know, the problem lies also with the airlines, because the airlines, the European airlines or the Emirates airline or Qatar, they all want to come at the same kind of time slots. So even if you build the airport, the best thing ever and the biggest ever, they will all be jammed within few hours during the day, and that is due to the air traffic, and not only that, to the power of the airlines wanting to impose a little bit their timing.
Absolutely.
So yes, airports needs to be, let's say, improved and modified, maybe slightly bigger, but at the same time I think deals with the airlines will need to be struck, so that you have this smooth access that you feel in Europe when you're coming in, that not every plane is landing at the same time, not every plane is taking off at the same time.
What about the road network in Pakistan? Like, I've met with a lot of foreigners and they always mention that they're really surprised that the roads here are actually quite good. Was it the same for you?
Yes, I mean the roads since I came, there has been a lot of improvements. I know, for example, when I came here in last year, we went to Sawat on a trip.
Wow.
It took us about 9 hours to get there because the highway was not opened.
Yeah.
Now the highway is open, the new highway, and they're saying it takes about 3 hours drive.
That's great.
So I think they are investing a lot into the roads,
Yeah.
and the roads were already not bad at all.
Yeah,
The Lahore
exactly.
highway, Islamabad to Lahore, is really good.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yes,
Yeah.
so I think that the roads, it's quite surprising that some of the other aspects of infrastructure may suffer, but not the roads. I think that the roads are improving quite well.
Yeah. So in your daily work here, how much do you interact with Pakistanis? Like how much of your staff is actually Pakistani here?
Well, we are 210 employees and at 18 plus contractors. We only have about 7 to 8 expats.
Okay.
So my interaction is basically with all Pakistanis. We get along very well.
Yeah.
I deal with Pakistani contractors, Pakistani consultants, advisors. Everyone is from Pakistan. Only 7 are foreigners. Even our designers were at initially like UK and US and from abroad, but now not anymore. We have about 9 consultants Pakistani.
Okay.
I think that the interaction is fine. We get along very well. We understand each other, and they are very efficient.
How would you describe Pakistanis as people? Like what are the specific things that you would highlight?
Well,
about
it
Pakistanis?
all depends as well if we're talking about Pathans from the north or if we're talking
true,
about Punjabi,
true.
because
Yeah.
they have different traits.
They do.
However, Pakistanis have the same traits as Egyptians. They're a bit relaxed.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's not like in the UK where people are commuting in the tube for a whole hour
Yeah.
to be on their desk at 8. That's not going to happen here.
No.
Okay. So, and they consider our project sometimes, oh my God, I'm going to commute for half hour to go to work. For me, this is heaven.
Yeah.
If I'm using a car and only half hour, because I used to commute from St. John's Wood in London to Shoreditch in 2 hours, sometimes
Right.
in the morning and coming back in 2 hours in the afternoon. The main trait of Pakistani is that they do have pride. They have pride on the nation, and they like to work with a lot of love and affection rather than push them to the limit. They will give you everything if you respect them and if you love them and give them care and everything else.
Yeah.
At the same time, they're a bit relaxed, so that's another issue that you need to. So you know, the balance is quite difficult here. The other thing is that Pakistanis are very clever when it comes to money, funding, finance kind of thing. They are very clever. They think good when it comes to either spending or investing. It's very difficult to sell a product to a Pakistani.
Okay.
Not because they are close to their pennies, no. It's just because they want to make sure that they're going to invest properly, so they have a lot of requirement.
Yeah.
Egyptians are easier, so you can sell to an Egyptian. He will come and give you the first 2-3 installments until he realizes that he would like to ask a few questions. But not Pakistani. Pakistani would be very careful before signing a contract or paying even a 5% down payment. They will have to make sure. That's why the good thing is that with the Pakistani or our clients, we have about 200 clients. So far, those 200 clients are paying every installment on time. We have no delays.
Yeah.
We have a 93% collection kind of success, whereas the Egyptians would be late. So they would be paying, but they will be late. So in Egypt, you have an average of 60 to 65% collection success versus Pakistan, 93. So the minute they actually commit, they follow, they do it and everything, but it's very hard to make them commit. So they're very clever with the money issue.
That's great. So why do you think foreigners should invest in Pakistan? What are the advantages here?
There is a big demand in Pakistan, for example. If we talk about the real estate sector, there's a big demand onto the units, as I said, whether it's affordable or even for the middle class. Pakistan is a very interesting country, first of all, because it's connected. It's connected to most of the other countries from where the investors, and it has a rich culture and heritage that people would like to be part of. I think that not only the demand, but also I'm not going to say the ease of business because we have challenges so far, but everything, the government is very open to introducing new policies and legislations. It looks promising for the future. So the reasons to invest in Pakistan is that the returns on real estate are quite good. Even though we are not doing this on the first project, but we have announced other projects that will take place jointly with the government, and the government is willing to support that.
I mean, right now, if you look at, for example, the capital city, Islamabad, none of these people are able to afford to live in the main sectors in Islamabad. What do you think should be done about that? Do you think it's the right way to build a city that you have these like sectors that are only for rich people and then the poor live like outside the city?
No, the way we've designed our master plan, for example, on the 600 acres, is that we have done something that no other developer is doing, is that we have created this merge between the 8 canal units and the half canal units in a very nice way, in order to keep the 8, the 4 and the 2, let's say, nicely on the Gulf located, and separating everything with nice green belts and nice parkways, so where the 1, the half, and even the 5, which is, they call it the 5 Marla kind of thing, which is even smaller than the 10, will be placed within the setting of the parkways and the green spaces. I think that's the approach. The approach is not to separate the rich from the guy who wants an affordable housing. No, the idea is to try and mix the whole thing within the same master plan, same communities. Our sponsors are coming to meet the Prime Minister to actually try and propose the ideas of how to create those developments where you can have still the commercial and the affordable housing all together mixed with larger units. And the approach to do that, our land, unfortunately, with the topography, did not allow for affordable housing because it had a very intricate topography. However, there are land plots that are around us that could afford that and could allow that. We have a lot of offers from other developers for this affordable, let's say, low-cost housing that we are we intend to introduce within the next, let's say, few months. Well, Maya, it's been a great pleasure, and I think dinner time is approaching. And if you would like to be my guest, I would like to take you to my favorite restaurant now, and let's have some dinner.
Great, let's do it.
Okay, great. We're ready.
All right, time to take a short break. See you in a bit. Welcome back. We've reached Tuscan Courtyard, so let's order some food. So you come here quite often, yeah? Why do you like this restaurant so much?
Well, I like the whole place, as Kusar Market is very close to where I live, but at the same time I can buy my things. It has a nice terrace and nice outdoor seating, and the food is quite tasty.
Yeah. So do you eat a lot of Pakistani food here at all, or you always go for like more Western?
No, I do a lot of Pakistani food. So I'm in love with the palak paneer, which is mainly the spinach, and dal and all of this. This is quite, I mean, I like more of the vegetables and the rice and the biryanis and that kind of thing. So yes, I do like the food very much. I mean, medium spicy, not too spicy, because
you're not used to that?
I'm used to spicy, but sometimes here when you go for spicy, it's like really spicy.
Yeah, that's true, so what's the difference between Pakistani food and Egyptian food? Like, I think Egyptian food has more like beans and like, I don't know, it's not that spicy.
Yes. I mean, first of all, Egyptian food is not spicy.
Yeah, exactly.
We have something in common, which is rice, but here it's more basmati rice. In Egypt, it's more short grain rice. The other thing is the way we cook the vegetable is a bit different. Here there's a lot of curries kind of used and all of this, but in Egypt they use a lot of tomato sauce, and so all the vegetables are cooked with tomato sauce. On the meat, the kebab is very similar. The spices might be different, but the kebab is also very popular in Egypt. So there is a difference. Obviously, there are a few things in Egypt that don't exist here, and some things here that don't exist. But both of them are quite heavy food. They use a lot of oils and all of this, so you need to be careful at night.
Yeah. So what's the most famous Egyptian dish, what would you say?
I mean, the most famous Egyptian dish is the okra as a vegetable. They do it, I mean,
the ladyfingers.
Really, yes, it's really nice. And what they call, it's something that doesn't exist anywhere else but Egypt, which is the molokhia. Molokhia is like a green vegetable that becomes like a soup. And this soup is very tasty because it has garlic in it and all of that, and you pour it on rice and you eat it with chicken. So it's kind of a very famous Egyptian dish.
Do you miss any of that when you're here, or is there anywhere you can get it?
No, I mean, obviously we have at the embassy a chef that sometimes when we're invited over there, we do that. But it's very difficult to cook it here, so if you don't have anyone to do it for you. So I do miss it from time to time, but again, it's quite heavy. So when I go back in Egypt to see my mother, she cooks it for me, and it's like a treat.
Oh, that's great. Okay, food's here. What about like, thank you. Oh, that looks amazing. Like, are you a fan of Western food though? Like, is that what you usually eat?
Well, because of all my life I've been expatriate in different countries. So I'm not a fan of specific food, but I eat all the food of the world.
Yeah.
So I'm quite international. I can eat fusion, I can eat Chinese, I can eat Far Eastern in general, and I can eat anything that is Pakistani, Indian, and I also have the Egyptian and the Western as well.
Yeah, and you get like so many cuisines here in Islamabad as well, right? Like, are there any good Middle Eastern restaurants here?
Yes, the Lebanese here.
Yeah.
I mean, they have a few Lebanese restaurants that are really nice.
Yeah.
So when we miss let's say the Middle Eastern food, we go to Lebanese. And then you have most of the restaurants here. I mean, you have different cuisines here. So yes, whenever we miss something, we do. But working sometimes till 9 p.m. in the office does not allow us to enjoy that much.
Yeah. Well, let's try some of this.
So bon appetit.
Yeah, thank you. So I wanted to ask you a little bit more about like where you come from in Egypt, your home city. Would you even say you have one?
Yes,
like,
I do.
Where do you go?
Well, my father, we have a house in Cairo. That's a family house that has been there since the very old times.
Yeah.
And my mother, they have my mother's family is from Alexandria.
Yeah,
so basically, my mother is Egyptian Italian from Alexandria, and my father is Egyptian Turkish, and my father has roots to the Topozada family. The Topozada family is actually cousins of the royal family. So actually my paternal grandmother is Aziza Hanem Topozada, who is cousin to the latest King Farouk.
Oh, wow.
Those families, obviously, Turks and Albanians were in Egypt, not anymore. So, but we do have roots there. So we have a house, and my father used to be very strict about those family traditions. So these are the two parts of Egypt where I come from. My mother is more from Alexandria, where it's more Greek and Italians were there, so they have this kind of culture of restaurants and kind of more relaxed kind of.
That's amazing. Would you say Cairo is in any way similar to any of the cities you've seen in Pakistan, maybe? Is there anything?
Cairo is similar to maybe Lahore and Karachi.
Yeah.
Very busy, 22 or 25 million people in Cairo, very hectic, lots of traffic.
Okay, I see. And you know, Egypt is obviously like a fairly moderate, modern, kind of a Muslim country. What would you say are the main differences between the two cultures, like in terms of maybe women's rights or, I don't know, the way people dress? Any differences there?
Okay, so I think that a lot of similarity in the understanding, but and let's say the traditions. But I can say that that Egypt has opened a bit earlier than Pakistan. Don't forget that 20% of the Egyptian population are Coptic.
Yeah,
so, and
exactly.
This is like a normal, homogeneous. These are native Egyptians, 20% Copts, and we had some Jewish as well population in Egypt. So let's say that Egypt, for all times, even 100 years ago, was even more open than now.
Yeah. Sure.
In terms of dress, I prefer the Pakistani dress for women and men. The reason for that is that this is a national dress. Egyptians' national dress was discontinued after the king. And the women, they wear very nice shilwar kameez and kind of national dress. It's very nice. It keeps the woman preserved and conservative, but at the same time, it shows there are more varieties, let's say, more options on the dress. Again, the national dress, the Pakistani national dress for men is also very nice and very elegant when you can have a sherwani for weddings and all of that. So it's
very
really
pretty.
nice. But I need to tell you something, that I find myself very comfortable in a nice kurta and jeans, going to my office where I look, like all wearing black, so it looks very official and it's quite handy. And with this heat as well, it does help you out. Yes, of course.
It's suited to the weather.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's great. And do people ever mistake you for a Pakistani when you wear a shalwar kameez?
Not much.
They don't?
No, they don't much. I mean, some of them try to speak to me in Urdu, but I don't respond, so I respond in English, but they doubt sometimes, but they don't mistake me for Pakistani. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Maybe it's because the jeans on the kurta, they understand that this is a
what
foreigner.
Is this?
What is this? What
you
are you
see
doing?
that more with women maybe than with men, That's true.
Absolutely.
All right. Do you think a lot of Egyptians know much about Pakistan, or is it like a completely foreign territory for them? No?
For many years, Genghis Khan was the world champion in squash. And he was a role model for the Egyptians, because Egyptians are very much into squash kind of playing. And now I think that Egyptians are the world champions in it. So he's been used as a role model for them, for those young guys. And because of him, believe it or not, maybe not because of the development, not because of the cultures, but because of him, Egyptians got to know a lot about Pakistan.
Okay.
So they know about Pakistan because of the armies. The armies have kind of good relationship. And exchange programs and all of this.
Right.
Plus, obviously, the not too much about the cricket though.
Yeah.
But squash, yes. So Egyptians don't watch cricket, don't do anything, don't even understand cricket.
Yeah, I don't either.
Me neither, by the way. I've been here 2 years. And by the way, my house in London was in St. John's Wood, nearby the Lord's cricket grounds.
Okay.
I have never, for the past 14 years, never attended a game of cricket and never seen. I was avoiding those cricket days because of the people are so much in the streets.
Yeah. It must have been really busy. But I think the sport that's even more popular than squash in Egypt is soccer, football,
Football we have a crazy football atmosphere in Egypt. We have a few players playing in the Premiership in England, some of them in other leagues in Germany. But soccer and football in general in Egypt is the main thing. It's like Brazil a little bit. In the Middle East, it's Egypt. So if you look at the West and the other continents, mainly Brazil, maybe Spain and Italy, but in Middle East it's Egypt. Egypt, there is a crave and craziness for football.
Yeah, and you have a super famous player as well, Mohamed Salah,
yes,
right?
He plays for Liverpool, he just won the Champions League. Hopefully he's going to win the Ballon d'Or, so maybe we're going to be lucky on that. I personally was raised in Belgium, but I did play a lot of football and I still play football.
Okay.
And I've even brought this culture to 18 as our project. I've selected a bunch of young guys, students. We have 15 players now with us. They play with the colors and the name of 18 under the brand.
Okay.
We sponsor their education. We help them out in their task. We give them internship programs in our company.
Oh, that's great.
So they're all in the age of 19, 20, 21. They're all into universities. And so far we've won about 5 tournaments in Pakistan.
Oh, that's amazing.
We have the best 5-a-side soccer team in the country. And I'm proud to say that.
Wow, congratulations.
I do play with them every Friday at 7:30.
Oh, yeah?
I'm 51, I try to cope. But since I'm the CEO of the company, so they allow me a lot of things.
That's good. I was just about to ask you what you like to do in your free time here. So you play football?
Yeah, I play football, I watch football. I am crazy about football. Even in my younger ages, I was playing in Belgium for Standard de Liège. I was a professional player till I got an injury in one of the games when I was 22, 23. I cut my cruciate ligament. And by then, talking about the 90s, early 90s, there was no good operation for that. Now it's laparoscopy, then it was surgery. So I had to stop professional playing. But ever since, I have not stopped playing football.
Yeah.
I can say that I've been playing football for at least the past 40 to 42 years.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. So that's all you do. Do you ever go hiking in the Margalas, anything like that?
I hate hiking, but I do bicycle.
Me too.
I hate hiking. I can't go to hike. I hate the gym as well, but I do a lot of cycling, so I like cycling. I've had a couple of trips by bicycle. One of them was in Croatia, and the other one was in Jordan. It was actually fun, very tiring, but but bicycle is enjoyable, and I still do this here around, not the mountain, obviously, I don't go to Margala Mountain on bicycle, but I do go on the Constitution Avenue around here, around E7, so I do that.
Oh, that's great. And what about travel? Have you gotten to travel to a lot of places in Pakistan, or it's mainly the cities?
Well, I was fortunate and lucky to spend about a week in Sawat. So we've been there, we visited Sawat, we've seen the lake over there and other sceneries, beautiful ones. I obviously I went to Karachi, I visited Gawadar, I went to Lahore, I went to Peshawar, yes, cities. I've had a trip planned last April to go to the north, which is Naran, Gilgit, these places. Unfortunately, I had to cancel it, but I'm planning to go definitely this year.
Yeah, you should. And I mean, I've heard there's quite a lot of people who come every year to actually cycle up north, so maybe you should sign up.
One of the things that I do, and I forgot to mention, is I went to Natyagali in winter time.
Okay.
And I was looking at the place as well for ski kind of resort and all of that, because I do ski.
Okay.
So I'm not a professional skier. I'm still on blue piste and slopes.
Yeah.
However, I've been in a few places like Italy, Madonna di Campiglio, San Christophe, and one of the ideas of our sponsor is to bring a small or a leisure ski resort kind of to the north. So I've been there and I was amazed from the snow and
yeah, and that's one of the most amazing things about Pakistan, I think, is that you get like practically everything. You get deserts, you get snowy mountains, you get lakes, everything, beaches.
Here. It's incredible. The glacial in the north, the frontier with China, the south, which is Karachi, the beaches. You know, you have so much. I mean, it's a very big country with 5,000 years of heritage and legacy. The ancient Egyptian, the Indus Valley, the Gandhara civilization, these are all 5,000 years kind of civilization, and people don't know much about them, but they are there, and the reason you see in the country, that's why they are very solid. And this is why Pakistan and Egypt are very solid, because they benefit from this legacy and heritage.
Exactly, that's very true. Okay, so now we've reached the part of the program where I always ask my guests to sign our visitor's book.
Of course, I'll be delighted to. Thank you, Maya.
Thank you. So let's see what you wrote. Thank you, Maya, and the team for giving me the opportunity to express my love to Pakistan and the project. I wish I could retire here in Pakistan. Wow.
Thank you.
And thank you so much. Thank you so much for inviting me to your home and for taking me out to this lovely dinner. Thank you.
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you. That's it for today. Please join me again next week. Goodbye.